Anybody like candy? Any candy likers? Okay, there's a few. A few of you are like, I don't like good things. Anybody like peanut M&Ms? Okay, I see a few. Okay, she's just holding her hands out right here. Okay, so come here. I'll give them. I'll give them to you, but I'm going to talk to you about it first. Okay, so all these people. Stand up here. That's good. All these people were wanting that, right? And you were the one that got it. Does that feel good? Yeah. It does. It feels good. Was there someone who else really likes peanut M&Ms? Okay. I see. Okay, come here. Yeah, Caitlin. Yeah, you. Yeah, the other Caitlin. All right. Come over here. Okay, so I see her every morning. She waits for school in my neighborhood, and the sprinkler system turns on where she's sitting, and it's hilarious. And so she got the peanut M&Ms, and nobody else did, and that probably makes you feel a little bit sad. So I thought I'd help you out. I'll give you some too. Okay, here you go. These are yours, and there you go. How do you feel?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. She's too excited for emotion, and you still got peanut M&Ms. She's a little bit frustrated. Do you see it in her face there? Okay, and you get to keep these. That's what you get. Sorry, that is what you get, and that is what you get. Now, I'm just saying one question. Just please don't open it during service. Wait till the end. Okay, that'll be good. Okay, she's like flushed with excitement. Do you see this? Actually, she's probably nervous. Y'all are going to mob her after service, and you are sitting close to Jeremiah, so you are in slight danger. But Jeremiah, do not touch her stuff unless she says to. All right, y'all can go back. Okay, I'm going to talk about y'all for a second, though. Now, there is not very many of us that in that moment when you saw the big bag come out would not feel a little disappointed if you had the little bag. You know what I'm saying? Would you feel that way? Some of you are disappointed you weren't the one that was picked. I'm sorry. But it's really interesting thing that happens. And she was very satisfied with her little bag, right? Little bag of M&Ms. It was good until she saw the big bag, all right? And then this is kind of lame, right? It just doesn't, and now what is that? Like, why is it that we feel that way? Why wouldn't we just be happy that we got 5 instead of 500? Okay, however many's in there. In fact, I was just thinking about this. Let's do this. I want you to look at one person in the room. It could be the person right next to you. It could be somebody across the room. But just look at somebody, and some of you are looking at me. Okay, so that doesn't really work if you're looking at me. But anyways, now imagine I gave you $5. I gave you $5. And the person you're looking at, are you looking at somebody? I gave them $5,000. Oh. Yeah. Look at him and say, you better share it, right? You better share it. Okay. So here's the deal. When I said give you $5, I actually heard an audible ooh in the room. Like some of you were like excited at the thought of $5. But if the person that you were looking at got 5,000, most of us would feel like icky. You know what I'm saying? You would be really disappointed that you didn't get the 5,000. You know what I'm saying? And what is that? I mean, you got $5. You should be happy. You left with enough to go buy half a meal at Chick-fil-A, right? You left with some money. You should be happy about that. But for some reason, we're not. We get discontent. See, when she had the little bag, okay? When she had the little bag, she was content. You know what content means? It's like peaceful happiness is actually a part of the definition. Peaceful happiness, okay? It's just, you probably had those moments where you just felt content, okay, in your life. And I actually think we can learn to be content always, but you certainly have had moments in your life you just felt content. But here's the thing about content. It can very quickly turn into covetousness, okay? But covetous is this. When you covet something, or it means that you are desiring something that belongs to somebody else, okay? And what it turns into is this emotion, envy. We also sometimes say jealousy is very similar, okay? But envy, this is a feeling of discontentment because somebody has something that we wish we had, basically. Okay, does this make sense? And so we have this, and we are content with something, and we can become discontent, envious on this thing. And usually the way that happens is through this thing called comparison. And it happens other ways, but this is a primary way, is that we compare. I got this many M&Ms, they got this many, okay? And we compare the two, and what happens? You go from content to envious and discontent, covetousness. Now, there's a lot of problems with this side, okay? Well, first of all, do not covet is part of the 10 Commandments. It's a sin. But even just taking that into account, forgetting that, which is kind of important, here's some really interesting things about when you covet, or when you get envious, when you get jealous. If you could think of being envious, okay, as something you could hold. Can you imagine that? Like it's an object you can hold. When you have this in your hand, In order to have joy, you have to take envy and put it down to pick up joy. You can't hold them at the same time. You can either have joy or envy. And so if I have joy and I get in this, I see what they have and I start comparing, what I do is I put joy down and I pick up envy. That's how it works. I can't hold them at the same time. And so if you are envious right now, if you are like, discontent, okay, comparing all that, in order to have joy, you have to put that down. And we can learn to put it down, okay? Now, this is actually a little bit even bigger than that because we're talking about your joy, but I'm going to talk about one other thing. Imagine you could hold love. Oh, okay? Like love in your hand, like it's an emotion, but imagine it was an object. You cannot hold love and envy at the same time. You cannot love people and be envious with them at the same time. You have to put down love to pick up envy. And if you are one of those people right now, you're comparing yourself to somebody else all the time, I can tell you this, what you're not doing is properly loving them. And what we need to learn to do is put envy down to be loving. In fact, don't take my word for it. A guy named Paul, this is what he said, okay? He's talking about love. It's in the love chapter. And he says, love is patient. That makes sense. If you're not patient with someone, you're not loving them. Love is kind. That makes sense. If you're a jerk, you're not being loving. It does not envy. Okay, he says it really clearly. You cannot be envious of another person where you were wishing you had what they had, and if you could take it, you would. You cannot be envious and loving them at the same time. And so we started a couple weeks ago talking about love. And the reason is love is really important. Because if you're a Christian, it's kind of the thing, right? God is love. We're called to love God and love our neighbor. That's like the two big commands. Jesus has said his command was, they said, my command is this, love your neighbor as yourself. So love is kind of a big deal, am I right? In fact, Jesus said, this is how people will know that you're a disciple. Does anybody know? How you, oh, come on. It's like we're talking about it here, okay? How you love one another. This is how people will know that you were my disciple, how you love one another. And so we've been talking about this love thing, and here's part of the problem. We think of love as something that we just have, not something that we can get more of and get better at. And the reason is because you do experience love that you just have. You probably have experienced this love. When I started dating Tracy, I would see her and stuff would happen inside me, right? My heart would be whatever. I thought, whatever, I don't know what it is. You just feel it. You know what I'm saying? I would see her and I was just like, okay, and I wanted to think about her. I mean, I was all the time. Okay, I wanted to be with her as much as possible. Because there was love, right? And that is a kind of I didn't ask for that to happen. It's just the way it was. I didn't like try to do it more. I'm like, I just want to be around her. Even no, I didn't even do that. It's just that just happened. So that is a kind of love, but that is not what this kind of love is. Do you understand that there's different kinds of love? I mean, I love Dr. Pepper. But that is different than how I love my wife. Okay, you better hope, okay? And I love my wife. But that is different than what this is talking about. There's a romantic love, and then there is the Christian love that we're supposed to have. Now, they kind of, side note, they kind of help each other, okay? You have romantic love for someone. If you can learn to love them this way, too, that really makes a great relationship. If you have one without the other, it kind of doesn't work great in a marriage. But we have this, okay? This is a kind of love. And so what we are trying to do is learn how to love. And Romans chapter 12 says this, love must be sincere. And this is what we started with every single week, okay? Love must be sincere. It must be genuine. It must be authentic. It must be real. And here's two things you can learn from what he just said. Love, if it must be sincere, then it is possible. Have you seen maybe unsincere love? Insincere? I don't know which way you go. No, you know what I'm talking about? Like love that is not sincere. So love could be not sincere. But also, if he's telling us to do it, that means you can change. That means you could be currently not loving sincerely, and you could learn to love sincerely. Yeah? Yeah, okay. And in fact, okay, I'm going to show you one more thing about this, because we've been looking at this every week. And so, sometimes Bible translations say stuff just a little bit different. They mean the same, but they just word it slightly. Here's a way many of them say it. Love must be without hypocrisy. Like a bigger word, but have you ever heard of a hypocrite? I almost said a hippo. A hypocrite, okay? Have you ever heard of one? Okay, hypocrisy is this. It's when you say that you are one thing and then you do something else. When you act like you believe this one thing and then you behave in a different way. And so sometimes we can love with hypocrisy. And that is we say I'm a Christian, I love people, and then we don't really love. we love with hypocrisy. You're a hypocrite lover, okay? You are not loving that way. And so 2 weeks ago, we talked about this idea of how that we should love those who do us wrong. And that we don't repay evil for evil. Do y'all remember? This is probably the hardest one of the series. It was, what do you do? How do you love people that are mean, okay? And that is really difficult. But sincere, unhypocritical love, when someone does evil, I don't do evil back. And if you do evil back to someone, you're a hypocrite lover, okay? And you need to change, and we can change. And it's possible for you to learn to love, okay, in the correct way. Last week we talked about we love those who are hurting and how to love those who are hurting. And I forgot to change the graphics, so it's going to be wrong the entire night, but it's supposed to say the new one. But anyways, you'll understand in a second. And so we're supposed to love those who are hurting. And we don't just ignore people that are hurting. We want to help them, and we talked about that. So tonight I want to look at one more. And it comes from this same passage just a few verses later. And he says this. He says, rejoice with those who rejoice. Rejoice with those who rejoice. And how do we do that? How do we rejoice with those? Well, that sounds pretty easy, right? Something good happens to somebody, and what do? You're happy with them. But that sounds like what you would normally do. That sounds pretty simple until you look at our lives. And it starts when you're about 2 years old. I know this because I've had 2-year-olds and I've seen what they do. It starts so easy. If I go right now, I have a 6 and a 4, and I've noticed with my kids that they do in like small scale what we do. Theirs is over stupid stuff, and ours is honestly stupid stuff too, but theirs just seems even more stupid. And they're a little bit more dramatic about it maybe than we are. So I'll give my son a piece of cake, and I'll give him a piece of cake that's so big there is no way he can even eat half of it. Just give him a huge piece of cake, and he's so excited about this cake. And then I cut his sister a piece of cake, and by accident, whatever, it was this much bigger, okay? And somehow he senses the size difference, okay? And how come hers is bigger than mine? Okay, and suddenly he hates his piece of cake. All he wants is her piece of cake because it's bigger than his piece. I'm like, you can't even eat all that cake. I want her, why can't I have that much? And then we go into the whole thing. He hates his cake now. And where does that? He was okay with his until she got hers. And then suddenly he wasn't okay with it. There is something that happens, and it starts when you're little, and it doesn't stop, okay? It happens to you guys all the time. And, there are two things that every now and then I have to step in the middle of drama in our youth group. It's 14 years. I've only had to do it a couple times. And it's usually over gossip or jealousy and envy. This is a big one. It usually works like this. Some guy comes into our youth group, and he's kind of new, and he's got good hair, and he just got his braces off, and it's like, ding. Okay, like they're shining and all that, and he looks good. And this girl over here is like, oh, okay. And this other girl's like, ooh. And they both like him. And he goes and talks to her. And now this one and all of her friends are like, can you believe she always talks to every guy that comes in here? And it's just like, and then they're like, oh, this group is mad. And they're mad about all kinds of crazy stuff at this group and how they're always in there. And they were looking at me and they were texting about me and they were doing this thing. And it's all this fighting. And I'm like, you know what it is? Envy. Where we should have been like happy that our friend got to talk to some cool new guy, we're jealous and we're envious, and of course then it turns to gossip, but it started with envy. I've seen it happen quite a few times, and it's usually really uncomfortable if I get involved. But so it happens that way. And we just, it doesn't stop, by the way. When you get my age, people look at somebody else's stuff and they like their car and their house and their spouse and whatever. And they wish they had what they had, and it happens, okay? And so we don't stop this. And there's so many things that have made it, worse, like Instagram. And you get on there, and suddenly your life is terrible, right? You know what I'm talking about? You thought you had a good weekend. Oh, I had a really fun weekend. And then you saw somebody else's weekend, and you're like, theirs was way better than mine. You thought you had good summer plans? Just wait till you see what everybody else does. They're going to Hawaii. They're going to like everywhere, and your trip is lame, okay? And it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to get on there. You feel like you have a good relationship until you see theirs, okay? And the funny thing is you're just seeing their highlight reel. You know what I'm talking about? Like people probably saw my trip to SeaWorld, like we posted pictures of it and thought, oh, I wish they had the greatest spring break. You should have been there. About halfway through, I wanted to throw both of my kids in with the killer whales. I was like, y'all are just driving me crazy. I'm like, maybe not that bad. But they were driving me up the wall. I mean, they were screaming and crying and like, it was a disaster, okay? And it did get better the second half of the day when we went to the hotel swimming pool, which was free compared to the hundreds of dollars I spent. Anyways, let's not go there. But you look on Instagram and you're like, it was amazing, okay? And this is what we do every day. We look at everybody's highlight reel and we feel like our life is terrible. And so there's that comparison. But then it also turns into this weird thing where when something good happens in somebody else's life, sometimes we don't even want to rejoice with them. We don't even want to be happy with them. And so our joy has been stolen because of comparison. And then our relationships get messed up because we are comparing ourselves and our lives to somebody else. And so what we need to do, we need to learn how to deal with this. And we need to know how to defeat envy or covetousness or comparison. I could have put all three of them on that part of the thing, but how to defeat envy? How do we get rid of this? So I want to help you. I'm going to give you a couple things. And if you'll use these things, it will make you not a hypocritical lover, okay? You'll be good. You will learn to love sincerely. And honestly, you'll just be more happy. Okay, so here we go. Here's the first one. You choose to be happy for others. You choose, and I maybe should have just said, you choose to rejoice for others or with others. It's something that you can make a decision to. He said, rejoice with those who rejoice. You can choose to be happy for people. And realizing that them getting that opportunity is good for them. And I don't have to think about what I missed out on. I mean, okay, so I have some friends and I have some friends who make a lot more money than I do. And every now and then, I'll kind of hear a little bit about what they did or whatever, and they get a raise and something. And you know what I think when I find out that they're making like double me or whatever? Awesome. I'm happy for them. Why would I think because they're making money that that's a problem for me? You know what I'm saying? How sad would it be if my friend gets more money and I'm upset because they're making more money? That's a really icky way to live. And if you were really striving to make this team and you were working as hard as you could and you finally made it, how would you like for all your friends to be like, whatever, okay? No, you want people to be excited for you, right? Because you got to your dream. And so what we need to do is we need to rejoice with those who are rejoicing. When good things happen in somebody else's life, it's not meaning that stuff is taking away from me. What if I wanted to make the team and they're the one that made it and I didn't get to because they made it? We'll talk about that in a minute. But we should even be able to rejoice with people in that moment, okay? That we rejoice with people that rejoice, and it's a choice. You choose to do it. You may not feel happy, but part of changing that is to congratulate them, to say good things, to choose to rejoice with them. Okay, here's the next one. And this is a big one, okay? You become a giver. So you can't always just change your emotions. Have you noticed this? Okay, so if you're sad, you can't just go, I'm happy now. Okay, I'm good. Okay, I just got dumped, but I'm woohoo. Okay, you can't just do that. You can't just flick your emotions. But what you can do is learn to do things that change who you are and to change your emotions ultimately. So this is one of those things that will change who you are and change this part of your life, and is to become a giver. There are people, and I'm going to say this, all of us are this at some points in our life and in some ways, but that are and if we're not careful, we'll all be this, that we're takers. In other words, when you think about friendships, you think about places, what can I get out of it? What can I get out of these friends? And people like that, they'll leave friends that they're not getting anything out of anymore. What can I get out of this church? What can I get out of this youth group? And if they're not doing anything for me, I'm out of here, okay? And so we're takers, okay? We want to go and we want to take and we want to get what we can from everybody. And this is the idea from that heart, and not the giving heart, the taking heart, is if I can just get more stuff, I'll be happy. And so many people believe this. If I can just get more stuff, I'll be happy. But Jesus disagrees. This is Jesus. He says, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness. That's what we're talking about. For one's life does not consist of the abundance of his possessions. Your life is not about how much stuff you can take and get and get. And as long as this is what you want, I got to get stuff. Guess what your heart is going to be? When they got more than me, I'm going to be disappointed. But if you can change it, and you start thinking about how can I give to the people around me, and you do what Jesus says here. The Lord Jesus himself said, it is more blessed to give to receive. When you start wanting to be somebody that gives, that looks for opportunities to give to your friends, to give to the people around you, to give to your church, to give. When you start looking at ways to give, you become a different kind of person. There are takers, and when takers see somebody else get something, they're frustrated because they didn't get it. If you're a giver and somebody else gets something, guess what you are? Excited because they got something. And so here's what you can do. Find a way to start giving to people. Give to people. Give to a friend. who needs something. If you can drive and somebody needs a ride, give a ride. Give some time. Help somebody with something that you're good at and they're not. If you make an income and you do not give in an offering, you're missing an opportunity to learn how to be a giver. And you should start giving. And so if you will give, it will change your heart. Okay? Here's the next one. Follow Jesus and trust him. Now, this sounds like a cliche preacher thing. Okay, of course he said trust Jesus. Okay, but this is so important. Okay, because comparison and envy a lot of times is saying I don't really believe that God is going to give me a good thing. They got a good thing. Why can't I have a good thing? It's anger at God in a lot of ways. But what we need to do is trust him that he's got something for me. So let me just talk about some specific areas. This will help us out, I think. Relationships. This is a big one that we fight about. Or not a fight about. We get envious about. And if you're single, the tendency is to do this, is to look at the people that are in a relationship and go, I wish I could have what they have. And to think, I will be happy when I get in a relationship like them. And as long as that is your thinking, you're living in envy and covetousness, and you're not really trusting God. Do you trust that God will bring the right person into your life at the right time for you, and that you can enjoy being in this and being single? You can. So it comes to, do I trust God? Do I trust him for this season of my life or not? Or do I think I have to have what they have to be happy? And if you think you have to have what they have to be happy, you're going to be not loving and not full of joy like you can be. Even people in a relationship do this. They'll look at other people's relationship and then compare their relationship to theirs. Well, they've already held hands. Well, they already make out. Well, they already do this. Well, he takes her on these kinds of dates. Well, he bought her this for her birthday. Well, they did, you know what I'm saying? And they start comparing their relationships. And that, again, just causes problems. We shouldn't compare what God is doing in us. We need to trust him to what he's done in other people. Here's the next one. This is a huge one. Stuff. And I picked money, but it could have been a picture of a car and a phone or whatever it is, the stuff that we compare to. When I was in high school, I got my first car. My parents got it for me. And it was a 1994 Mercury Mystique, okay? It sounds cool, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Okay, and it was not cool, okay? It was like your grandma's car, and but it went as slow as your grandma walking with a walker, okay? I mean, it was a little tiny car, and it was, and it hailed one day, and we didn't have comprehensive coverage, and so it looked like you parked it at a golf range, like a Top Golf, and they practiced hitting your car. That's what the car looked like on the outside. It was just covered in dents. It was not great. And at the same time, I had two like really good friends. One friend, her dad went out and bought her a brand new SUV from the Hyundai dealership, okay? And she had this like really nice brand new car, CD player, all that. Okay, I had a tape player. We'll get in anyways. And so she had, and my other friend, his parents went out and bought him a brand new Subaru. It had like turbocharged. He had subs in the back that like he played the music. It was like, like your whole body was like vibrating. It was like, whoa, this is crazy. It was so stinking fast. I mean, my parents, his probably went from like 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds. I don't know. Mine took 0 to 60 in like 3 weeks. And I'm like, I'll get there eventually. And I'm like, and so here's the deal. I could have compared. I mean, mine sounded like iPhone 1 speakers, and I put my tape in and I rewound it to listen to stuff. I had to like record CDs to tape the whole thing. And it was, okay, I could have been like, stinks to have this stupid car. But I was so thankful to have a car because I didn't think I was going to get one because we didn't have very much money, okay? And I didn't think there'd be any way that we could afford a car for me. And I was so thankful to have that car. And when we become thankful for the things that we have, we don't have to look at sure, I would have loved to have the Subaru, okay? That thing was fast, okay? I would have loved that. But I was thankful. Actually, I didn't get any tickets because my car couldn't even go fast enough. But, I was so thankful to have what I had and would have been happy to have that. And it's okay to think, hey, I would like to have one of those. Okay, yeah, that's okay, but it's different if I have envy in my heart. There's a difference there, okay? And so looking at other people's stuff and wanting that is not going to lead to you being happy. Here we go, talent. Every single one of you has different talents, okay? Some of you will try out for this worship team and you will sing up here. Some of you, don't try out, but some of you will try out and you might not make it, okay? And you won't, and here's the deal. Everybody has different talents, and not all of us are called to stand here and sing. That is a talent, okay? I actually use sports as an example here. Some of you are gifted in sports, okay? And you are fast, and you can run, okay? This is not my talent, okay? I cannot run fast. I can outrun 7-year-olds and 70-year-olds. Okay, both that direction. But everything in the middle, I'm probably going to get beat by. I'm slow. Okay, I'm not good at that. I'm not good at basketball and all that kind of stuff. And that's not where I'm at. But you know what? I should not look at people that have those talents and go, well, there must be something wrong with me. And I don't like them because they can do that and I can't. And those kind of things. That's icky. Okay, and that I am thankful and I trust God that he gave me the talents that I need. And some of you have musical talents. Some of you have athletic talents. Some of you are good at math or English or one of those type of things. Some of you are like, I'm not good at anything he said so far. Some of you are good at, just look, some of you can like tell when somebody's hurting and then know what to say to them. That's a talent. That's a gift. Some of you have, I don't know all of the gifts. There's so many different things that God has gifted everybody uniquely. And to look at everybody else's and say, well, theirs is better than mine, is to doubt God's plan for you. So trust his talents for you. Success. When you see other people having things that you want, trust God that he's doing something good in you. I'll tell you something embarrassing about myself. Is that okay? So when I became the youth pastor here, our youth group was really small, and I remember we were kind of growing and stuff, and I was starting to kind of feel we were doing good things and, happening. And then I would get on Instagram, what do you know, and I would see another youth group in town post like a picture of their night and like, wow, we had this many people and this many people got saved. And I was like, great, they had 3 times as many people as us, and we didn't have anybody get saved. And you know what I was? I was upset. I was sad that people went to church and got saved. Think about it. Like, think of how ridiculous that sounds to say out loud. But I was sad because they were in their youth group and not in my youth group. And what are we doing wrong? And all of a sudden, I was down on what God was doing here. And I've repented of that. I don't do that anymore, okay? I'm happy when people get saved and go to church, no matter what church it is. But now, you'll do that too if you're not careful. And here's what that would do though. When we did have a good night, I can always find somebody with a bigger thing, and I'm making it about that instead of making it about you. See, it doesn't matter. I mean, if there's 100 people here, that would be great. But if you're here, I'm excited to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? And I should be excited what God has given me to do tonight, not what God gave them to do tonight. And you got to do that for your life. Some people are going to make a team that you wish that you made. They're going to get into a college, or they're going to make this money or whatever. And you should be happy for your friend for what they got. And you should be looking to God for what he's doing in you. I'm going to do one more. Looks. Now, if you compare yourself to her, girls, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed. All right, I'm just kidding. But look, here's the deal. We do this. We look at other people and we wish we looked like them. And this is especially, I'm just going to talk about this because it may hit somebody I don't know. I've heard girls doing this a lot with their sisters, if they have a sister. And this is what they do. They compare themselves, and I've heard this multiple times. They compare themselves to their sister, and, well, she has this, and her hair's like this, and whatever it is. And they compare their physical looks with their sister and say, well, I'm ugly because she has this. For some reason, they hone in on this one person and compare themselves to them. In fact, siblings do this about a lot of things, okay? But look, God made you the way you are. Just because she has different kind of hair, it's curly or straight or whatever, or she has this feature, and you don't, does not make you not attractive. God has made you who he wants you to be. And as long as you start looking at other people and saying, I wish I'd look like them, you lose your joy and the confidence that God should have in you. And here's the other thing. I've seen it do this. It drives wedges between friends, between sisters, between people. And so let's trust God for what he's made you to be, okay? And here's the last thing. It's simple. Just give thanks, okay? Give thanks. Thanks kills comparison because you're thanking God for what he's given you. And what will happen if you will start to set these things down and you will stop looking at what other people have to see what you should have and instead looking to God to see what you should have, you will pick up joy and you will just be more content in your life. You're going to go through your day and you're going to be happier and you're going to have better relationships because envy may be hurting your family right now and you don't even realize it. Because you've been jealous of your brother or your sister all this time, and because of that envy, that jealousy, you don't have a good relationship with them because you always feel like they get the better thing, and they're always going first, and they're the favorite child, and all this kind of stuff. And so what is happening? You're hurting that friendship, and this will happen all through your life. It'll happen when you get married, between you and your spouse. It'll happen in important friendships if you don't learn to cast this thing out. So let me give you a simple thing to do starting tonight, and that's this: to pray this simple prayer. Father, thank you for who I am and what I have. I trust you with who I will be. and what I will have. Father, thank you for who I am. Thank you for who I am. Thank you for making me the way I am. Thank you for making me like this. Thank you, Lord, for the talents you've given me. Thank you for who I am and what I have. Look, everybody here is blessed. Yes, somebody probably has a better car than you in a nicer house, but I don't know if any of you walked here tonight. Most of you came in the car. It may not have been your car, but you got to ride in one. We used to have a guy that walked a mile to get here to youth group on Wednesdays. And we had one guy who he would ride his bike from a couple miles down. He would ride it all the way here because he couldn't get a ride, and he would do that. And we had one guy who ran. Remember the guy who ran every Sunday morning? He ran here from like a few neighborhoods down that way, and he couldn't get. You got to get here in a car. I don't even know why I went off on that. I just did. But anyways, I'm thankful for what I have, and I trust you with who I will be and what I will have. And this is the thing. I'm confident that he's, maybe there's things I'm dreaming of and desiring, and they have a relationship, and I do want one. I'm not envious. I just want one, and I'm just trusting God that he's going to do that in the right time. That will help you break through this, okay? So what I want to do tonight is I want to end with a time of prayer. And if you're struggling with this, I want to, pray with somebody. If you're struggling with something else, I know the end of the school year is always stressful for many people. And so pray that God will give you peace and work in you. If you've got any need in your life, we want to pray with you. I'm going to say a prayer. When I say amen, we'll stand. And if you need prayer, you can come at that time. Father, I just pray for every person here that we would learn to cast off envy and be full of joy and love and truly love the way we're supposed to. I thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.